Hello and welcome to today's top tip video on question 4 of paper 1. We are going to see the exam answer from a student, Bo, where he scored 19 out of 20. I'm going to teach you these 8 things which will, you can find all of these in my English language guide, but if you're too stingy to buy that at $3.99, don't worry, I'm going to teach you it here for free. We're then going to look at Bo's answer, which is that page, this one, and that one, this one, and that one, and there's another one. Obviously, these aren't full pages. I'm just showing you the volume of what you've got to write and the reason why Bo has written so much. And it's because of this. There are 20 marks going for question 4. Which means you should spend 30 minutes on it. You really need to blitz the answer out. Okay, we will go through these later in the video, but number 1 is super important. You will get a statement that's invented by the examiner which asks you to agree or disagree with what a student has said. And what I'm saying is you need to agree or disagree with that statement straight away. In one sentence, just get it out the way, done and dusted. But there is a technique here because the examiner wants you to evaluate, and in order to evaluate, it's easiest to mostly agree. So don't totally agree, say yeah I agree mostly, and then find a reason why you don't fully agree. That was just a little trick to show the examiner that you're evaluating. Okay. Let's look at what that seems like in an answer. So, I agree that moss creates a mysterious atmosphere. So you can guess what the question was because he must be using the keywords here in the second part of the source. But not that it is necessarily going to be life-changing. There you go. Bo has immediately put in a partial agreement and the teacher has ticked it. Psychologically, the teacher has said, aha! This is an evaluative comment. The advantage of that is you've already won the examiner over. You've already told them you can ace this question. So that even if your answer isn't brilliant all the way through, you will start to get the benefit of the doubt. The extract begins with Alice being described as aching and tense, 2 adjectives that are deftly employed as they describes Alice's physicality, but also could be interpreted as descriptive of her mental state. So Bo has picked on 2 purposes to that writing and therefore is giving us a more sophisticated answer. Also, right, the reader, let's get to the next page, is encouraged to believe that Alice has lost her initial fascination with the archaeological dig and is now bored and finds it makes her irritable and tense. This creates a mysterious atmosphere as it juxtaposes with the sentence's first verb, tempted, as it is unclear why Alice has not. Well, before we get to that, notice the embedded quotations, single words put in. Notice the effect on the reader, creates a mysterious atmosphere, and if we go back to the first line, mysterious atmosphere was obviously in the question, and so Bo is continually coming back to the language of the question to make sure that the examiner knows they're answering the question. Also notice the word juxtaposes. I'm teaching you to use juxtaposes and contrasts all the way through here, and that is one of the methods that the examiners want you to write about. So I haven't itemized all those techniques for you here, but these are the same techniques that I introduced to you when we looked at question 2. All those language techniques, simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, blah 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 blah, and contrast and juxtaposition. These are the same techniques you answered with in question 2. So back to the answer. As it is unclear why Alice has not acted on this temptation. And then his teacher has written, and therefore that creates mystery. So spell it out for the examiner. And this could be a reason why the teacher has only given this, I say only, 19 out of 20. Teacher has found one mistake and decided to take a mark off. And it's an obvious mistake because you always have to come back to the words in the question. The second paragraph begins on a far more positive note, contrasting, there's that word again, contrast and juxtaposition, against the first. Here, Alice has faith in luck and is hopeful. The abstract noun luck invites a sense of mystery by suggesting to the reader that Alice's newfound hope and not the time she has invested into the dig is what will allow her to excavate a potentially life-changing archaeological find. So let's look where Bo is now in terms of my advice. All the time he's trying to relate to the keyword in the question, although his teacher spotted once where he didn't do that. You will notice that the quotations are always embedded in the sentences, you know, 1 or 2 word quotations. He's identified the technique all the time. The last one we were looking at was contrast, and this is how you're writing about the writer's methods. Now, the other thing is you want to develop an argument. Well, the first stage of developing an argument is where you outline how you mostly agree with the statement in the question. But the next bit is just to move chronologically through the text, explaining how each new quotation adds to the impression you're discussing. Yeah, the easiest way to do that is do what Bo did here. Oh look, examiner, I'm now going to deal with the second paragraph and talk about how that offers something new, the contrast. So just moving through the paragraphs will automatically get you the marks because you'll develop an argument about what the writer is up to. Right, on this page, Bo uses a really interesting technique which I think for most examiners would have made this a 20 out of 20 mark answer. However, his teacher doesn't agree with me, and that's fine, but hey, what's the difference? 1 mark. So watch what he does here and steal this technique. So indeed, Moses's choice of Alice in naming the protagonist supports this interpretation. Literary critic David Lodge argues names are never neutral. So let's just pause there. You can lift this and just steal it. I'm going to do this from now on. Thanks, Bo. I'm going to teach my students this one. Names are never neutral. That's not difficult to remember. It's full of lovely alliteration. And what he means here is that writers use name choice for a reason. So let's see the reason that Bo then comes up with. The name Alice is synonymous with Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. So that's an allusion to a literary text. Now, to get the marks here, you have to name a text which you can reasonably expect Moss's readers to be familiar with. And Bo's done that. You know, most readers are familiar with Alice in Wonderland, even if they haven't read it. A series of books where the role of supernatural and abstract concepts, such as luck, play a vital role in the protagonist's experience of the plot and its development. So rather meanly, or maybe not meanly, his teacher said expand on this. And what the teacher means here is, well, give me an example from this extract that matches that, yeah? Give me a specific example for me to give you credit. Well, let's see what happens next. Labyrinth is Alice, Labyrinth, I think that should say, as Alice also knows that she will look back to this moment where she excavates the object, big and glinting, on the mountains. On the mountainside. Here, opulent and flattering adjectives describe the mysterious object favourably, like a piece of valuable jewellery, suggesting that this one's been written on once, I think, suggesting that once excavated, it certainly may be life-changing in its value or beauty. So again, Bo is writing about the methods using flattering adjectives. linking it to the question with the word mysterious, and trying to think about the writer's purpose to suggest this might be life-changing. Okay, let's look at the ending. To conclude, Moses creates a mysterious tone to the extract by focusing primarily on the object Alice is excavating, whilst giving only short and generalized descriptions of it. This is successful as it encourages the reader to make assumptions about the object and its worth, despite the fact they know little about it. Now, what's interesting here is the examiner can see that Bo doesn't know what to write next, and so he makes a longer point about what he's just written, and mentally he's thinking, oh, well, that's it, I've come to the end of my answer, I'm just going to write a summary of what I think so far. But now this is super useful to you, okay? Because I always tell my students, don't think, just write. Now, because when you write an idea down, even if it's not a very good one, it automatically gets you to another one. And you can see what's happened to Bo here. He's thought, oh, I've got nothing else to write about. Most students would just give up. But, now pay attention here, right? I know we're 11 minutes in, but something magical happens. When he writes this idea down, he thinks, oh, hang on, that's a bit rubbish, isn't it? But I've got a better idea. The practice of writing a bit rubbish idea down gives him a new one. And so he's going to carry on here. And look, then he carries on there. And then he carries on here. Look how much more he's going to get just because he didn't stop when he thought he should. Because he didn't think, he just wrote. So, moreover, the characterization of Alice is successful as it presents many facets of her personality in a relatively short extract, making the readers invest in the investment to the character more developed. So still not making a brilliant point here because he hasn't got an example, thus more intimate. Various parts of Alice's personality, such as hopeless and hopeful, contrast to create mystery and enigma. So he's starting to get marks now because he's talking about the methods, so contrast, as to what her final emotion will be towards the mysterious object, whether it will be truly life-changing or not. So he's going back to his quotation and trying to look at it in more detail, feeling his way towards a better answer. Has not yet been revealed to the reader nor to Alice. Ultimately, readers are encouraged to assume that Alice's tense nature may be her hamartia. Look how he's using his knowledge of Macbeth here to inform his answer, and lead her to not finding the true worth of the object. So finally he's got himself to an absolutely brilliant observation at the end that she doesn't fully understand what's going on in her own mind, and this might turn out to be her fatal flaw. And this is what his teacher said: just develops all points in depth and language of evaluation throughout a super read, but 19 out of 20. And so my advice to Bo actually would be the same as I will give you. Keep quoting. So if you just keep quoting, you will get higher marks. So here, where Bo suddenly got a better idea, he saved himself by getting more marks, but it took him a long time to say it. You can see there are no extra ticks on that bit. It's only when he's got here that his teacher has got excited. And the easiest way to do that, get those ticks all over your marks, all over your writing, is to link it to a new quotation. But as Bo has so eloquently shown us, if you just keep writing, you will get more marks. Do not give up on this paper. And if I take you back to an earlier top tips video, remember this question is worth 20 marks, which is 12.5% of your whole GCSE grade. And now you can see why it's so important to just keep adding extra stuff down. You never get marks taken away if you write something down that's rubbish, just as Bo didn't. You just get extra credit for the extra ticks that the examiner can find when they want to give you more marks, extra credit for your new ideas. So hopefully you now know how to ace this question. Look out for my next big video on question 5, and well done for sticking with me this far. I'm getting over enthusiastic, aren't I? My videos have got too long. I'll try and tone it down for the next video. Well done if you've made it to the end. Thank you for subscribing if you have, and if you hadn't, come on man, what are you playing at? The exam's coming up. Subscribe. Or don't, you know, say, well, the exam's around the corner, why do I need to subscribe? I'll never have to hear your beautiful voice again, Mr. Salles. Well, never mind anyway, I'm rambling. See you soon.